Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Stand Up Speakeasy. I'm your host, Srethne, and every episode I bring a comic from all over the country and we interview them from about their comedy journey so far. And since I can't leave the house because of the pandemic, I thought, well, I'll just interview comics from here, from home. And so without further ado, all the way from St. Louis, Missouri, Sam Lyons. Hey, Sam, how are you?
I'm
Awesome.
good, Sarah. Thanks for having me on. How are you
You,
doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you for being my guest today. It means a lot.
Absolutely.
Indeed, I noticed your Instagram and Twitter and Cash App handles, and it was Wu-Tang Sammy. So that, well, I'll just put on my Wu-Tang jammies and Scully and
There we
B
go.
name, and we'll
The
start.
Wu Jammies.
Yep, start this off right and everything. So yeah, this was like
Oh,
not bad at all. It was like $20 or something around there. And I'll
that's
get.
where'd you find it?
I'm online, so I'll send you the link, and it's an official
Yeah,
merchandise too. So it's super dope. So
awesome.
absolutely.
What's funny is I actually don't like being called Sammy, like at all. But when I got on Twitter and I wanted to choose his name, Wu Tang Sam was taken.
Ah,
But it was taken by somebody who like hadn't tweeted in like 3 years. And so I sent them a message and I was like, yo, it looks like you don't use this account. You trying to let that handle go for me? And they never responded. And so then I DM'd Twitter. I was like, yo, looks like they don't use this account anymore. You trying to open up that handle for me? And they never got back to me. And so then I said, I guess I'll just be Sammy now.
indeed.
So
We'll just go with Sam, but that's a cool little backstory for you. That
for everybody out there who's wondered the origins of the handle that nobody follows, now you know.
absolutely. I'm still active after like I've been on there for like 12 years. It's insane. I'm like, I didn't expect to be on there for that long.
That's impressive. Like
Uh,
12 years consistently.
yeah. I only got on there because like I was living out in LA and in the horror industry, and my buddy goes, you're the person that you are apprenticing for tweeted about you. You should hop on Twitter and create your own account so you can like just keep this just in case you become famous. I'm like, all right, fine. And then he sent out a dope tweet that launched my writing career. I'm like, that's awesome. So I had to see it for myself. But you're a writer too, and an actor, and a comedian, and a musician out in St. Louis. Tell me some awesome stories from each of those artistic categories.
Well, so when I say, here's the thing, Sarah, we'll be real. When I put musician on the bio, that is a very recent development. I kind of it's something like I always wanted to get into. Um, like when I was a kid, I used to like write raps and other songs, and I never like, I guess, really saw it as. I didn't think that I could ever be like an entertainer or like an artist like that. Like I kind of like from a young age thought that I was gonna have like just some like whatever 9 to 5 job. I'd do something. I'd go to school, then I'd get like a master's in something. I'd just settle down, and like it might be fun to like dream about other things, but those are always just like dreams for me. And so then other than like like I did like theater club in high school and stuff like that. So I'm not like I got to like do it to an extent, but it was always just like a hobby. I never thought it could be like my life. And comedy was like my entryway into that. And it was the first time, I guess that's kind of like answer the question. I'm doing like a roundabout job of it, forgive me. But uh I guess I went to like I did my first open mic in 2014, and there was something about the feeling of being on stage and just like being able to just like authentically be myself. It's not like when I like I'd acted before and I was able to like, yeah, bring myself into characters, but I was still just like playing a character. Or like I love like karaoke. And so I would do that. And so like felt fun to feel like you're performing. But again, you're performing someone else's music, you're just singing along with them. But my first open mic was like the first time that I felt like I myself was, doing the performance. Like the crowd was actually seeing me. They were reacting to me. They enjoyed what they, saw. And that was like, oh wow, I can actually do something with this. Um, so I guess I think that's a cool story from at least stand up.
Indeed, most definitely. I totally feel you on that one. I'm really bad at topical humor, and so it's like when I do my jokes on stage, I just pull from the heart and like from my experiences, and I
Hmm.
just it just comes out more naturally, and people are like, you actually went through that, and I'm like, yep, I actually went through that. So,
Exactly.
it's good stuff. And as far as that acting goes, where were they in the theater or on film or?
Again, it's been some dinner theater stuff. Sarah, I'm not sure if you're still there.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm still.
Yeah, it's been the Dinner Detective is it's a dinner theater troupe throughout. It's got several locations throughout the U.S. So I've done performances with them, and I've been a couple of independent films in the past couple of years I've done here in St. Louis.
Awesome, good stuff. Where can we find their short filmed online, your independent stuff?
Yeah, so they are both currently still like in festival circuits. So why don't we keep having fabulous conversations right now while I casually and discreetly get those details?
Okay.
Because I believe they both still have like some festivals coming up, but I know. Are You All Right is an excellent film that's been in several over the past year. So I'm gonna get that information and make sure that I can share that with everyone. I don't want to do anybody dirty that's given me dope opportunities to.
For sure, indeed. And as a writer, are you a journalist? Write nonfiction, fiction, poems?
Mostly pilot scripts that I don't actually know if I want to turn into anything. But I do storytelling actually, and so I consider that writing in its own way. And as a producer, I also get to work with storytellers on putting their performances together. I work with the Story Collider here in St. Louis for our home stage, and we have other stages around the world. And so with each of those shows, we're assigned to storytellers to kind of help them like hone in on like the arc of the event they want to talk about, like kind of like the arc of it, the moment, like where does the change happen in your story?
Most definitely. I love that. And I used to run a storytelling room in St. Augustine, Florida, called
Okay.
Confessions of the Core Zone. And like I tried to invite all my comedy buddies because I was trying to turn it into like, so this is not happening and stuff. But the senior citizens appeared, and we had so much of a better time. It ran for like 2 years, and then COVID hit, and then the theater had to shut down. I'm like, oh, that's
Mm-hmm.
a little bummer. But it was a great 2 years though, for sure. And
Yeah.
hopefully I do some kind of other storytelling because I love the Moth and NPR, and I can't wait to see yours. And I saw
Yeah.
that and all that good stuff. Where can we find your show?
So if you go to storycollider.org, you can see all the latest updates about our shows coming up. This Friday we do have one of our story slams, and that's actually an opportunity for all our shows are virtual right now, but this is an opportunity for audience members to submit their name into virtual hat and potentially be selected at random to be called up to the screen and like share a version of their story. So we have a variety of those that happen, and then we also have online story hours, which is again where we'll book storytellers in advance who will come on and share real and personal stories about their lives and kind of just show the way that science is interwoven through our lives. It's a science-based storytelling show, but we have like scientists, doctors, chemists, but then we also have comedians, musicians, writers, actors, stay-at-home parents, anybody with a story to share is in for an experience with us.
Awesome, great stuff. And it's like with the whole science thing, it reminds me, like Jizza automatically popped in my head because he's always doing those science talks. So it's pretty awesome. So you performed in clubs and independent shows in the Midwest. And what are your favorite venues and independent shows that you performed on in the Midwest?
Oh God, everywhere that's ever let me be on a stage. Like I can't explain it enough. Like every club that's let me perform, every local bar, showcase, and open mic. I am forever in love with Heavy Anchor and Improv Shop here in St. Louis. Two fantastic venues that have like great opportunities just for not even just for comedy, but for improv, music, films, things like that. the clubs just here in the city are fantastic. I've gotten to do weekends with Helium and Funny Bone, uh, and it's just all of it. I don't know. I can't. I can't pick my favorite family member. No, I probably could if I had to.
Indeed. And you're also a contributor to impolitecompany.com. And how did you link up with those folks?
Yeah.
Oh.
So that Impolite Company, I work with that with my very good friend, fellow comedian, life role model, Chris Sear. Again, here in St. Louis, Impolite Company is something he started must be 7 or so years ago as a recurring showcase at the Crack Box here in St. Louis, and he slowly built it into from just being that monthly showcase at Crack Fox to also including booking shows at like other areas in St. Louis or in like the St. Louis area, and he got started doing a radio show in 2018, which is about a year after I'd moved here. And he was doing a morning every Monday through Friday at 6 a.m. Just getting on the air and just kind of just talking into the air and really being interactive. Folks could text in during the show, and every episode he was working on having local comedians and other performers come on the show. And I'd been working with him on other shows for a while until he offered me and another comedian, Yale Hollander, both the opportunity to take a day of that Monday through Friday block and kind of curate our own morning shows out of it. And Yale came in, dived in head first with Coffee Break, which is a masterpiece. It's something he also, pivoted into a showcase, which is his absolute favorite thing to do.
Indeed.
And then I came in with mine, with the Lyons Den. Which was basically just me doing this for an hour once a week. But it was really a lot of fun. Again, I also got to just have other comedians come on. I did a stretch of episodes where my roommate and I would just watch an awful movie on Netflix and then just talk for 45 minutes into a microphone, just recounting it. Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. I got to do an episode where we just talked about the heartbreaking music of Drake and Bryson Tiller, and kind of just get into it about who's the saddest sad boy. And then another week, I had a candidate for the St. Louis Board of Education. Come on, just talk about their platform and what they want to do for the city. So we eventually, moved that into a podcast only format. And then life things happen and I got into not my most productive states. So the Lyons Den has been hibernating, but Impolite Company is still alive and thriving and driving the game. So check out impolitecompany.com for great content, and the return is coming.
Absolutely. And Yale's such a cool dude. I got to interview him on earlier, so that was awesome. And the Lions Den, I made sure to put all the links that are still active for the Lions Den underneath beneath the video in the description box below. So like and subscribe and give them positive reviews for Sam. That'd be awesome. So you lived in 3 states just like I have. Like I lived in California, Colorado, and Florida, and you lived in Missouri, Mississippi, and Texas. And what are your favorite stories from Missouri, Mississippi, and Texas?
It's weird because I was born in Houston and more or less grew up about an hour and a half from there, a town called Huntsville, Prison City. That was a weird thing to say, but that's what it was. It's where like a large majority of the units are with the state. And my dad was a professor of criminal justice at Sam Houston State there, and then later on at Mississippi Valley State. And so like all of my stories have just been like I've just lived somewhere and I've just either been in school or I've been in my dad's office somewhere. Which is a weird thing to say. Texas, I don't know. Texas was just hot, and then Mississippi was like hot but a little bit damper. And then Missouri is like hot, but then also it snows. And then like they've all got racism. So I don't know, you know.
Indeed. Gosh, it reminds me of all the three states that I lived in too. So it's just yeah, it's the way the world crumbles sometimes, just like Jim
I tell
Carrey
you,
said, where the cookie crumbles. But go for it, Sam.
yeah. No, I guess like some of my more interesting moments. I went back to Mississippi, back to Texas after having been, in Mississippi for years. Went back for some family event, and I picked up my cousin's kid, and we just kind of like we went got a haircut, just kind of hanging out with him. I haven't seen him in years. Just getting to reconnect, and then we went back to their house, and we're just eating some lunch, and the news is on, just kind of in the background, and there's like this, high-speed chase going on, and I'm sitting there in the kitchen with my cousin who's like 10 or so years younger than me, and I'm like I'm taken back to like I remember being a child and like I guess kind of growing up in like the aftermath of like 24-hour news coverage. I wasn't like an 80s, but I was I wasn't like I didn't watch like the OJ case or anything, but like that's I grew up post that world. And so like I would remember like just being a kid and watching like the breaking news interruptions for like a high-speed chase. And so I'm sitting here now watching this again years later, and then we hear the sirens both on the TV and outside, and we look out and we see the car and the cruisers come by, and it's just something like that. Yep, that's very Houston. That's just a Houston thing to happen.
Indeed.
It's a weird story.
It sounds like a lot of fun. It's like that just reminds me like we like just totally appear like in a cartoon or something, but just happen in real life is pretty neat.
Yeah.
Indeed. And so for on Twitter you have hot takes on politics and Gilmore Girls.
Mm-hmm.
And why do you love Gilmore Girls?
So before I can do this, I gotta know, like, where do you stand with Gilmore Girls? Do you have a stance? Are you familiar? Like, am I talking with a novice here? Are you initiated?
Well, I was just curious because it's just part of your bio, but to be honest, I don't watch TV, and so I was just like, my friends watch Gilmore Girls, and so I'm just like, what's the deal with Gilmore Girls?
It's just a show. I don't know. There's something about the characters in that show and just the time. So basic rundown. Lorelai was a teenage mother. She and her child Rory live in the small town Stars Hollow. Lorelai's very self-made, but she comes from like old Connecticut money. But she's been very big about striking out on her own. She's very successful managing a local inn, and Rory is a freaking genius. And like it's like this weird because there's like a full thriving high school in this town, but you never see a parent like ever saying anything to the other kid. Like this whole town is just built around praising Rory Gilmore. But just like the characters, and it's just such a small community, but like the characters in the town are so ridiculous, and it really becomes more about like the towns in the show, I guess. And it's a very like it's because on the surface it seems like just like kind of like a run of the mill. It was big and popping at the same time as like One Tree Hill and the OC and shows like that. But I at least feel like it's a very deep show. Like for 7 seasons, we get to watch this, this young woman who is very estranged from her parents, who are from this like older generation. It's very like they're frigid, and she's always been like kind of like against the grain, going against the mold. But like you see these powerful moments where like you can see how much love this family has for each other. They just don't know how to express it sometimes. And there's a lot of frustrating stuff that happens in the show, and a lot of just like ridiculous like white people nonsense that happens, but there's also some really powerful universal moments. And also Edward Herman from The Monsters plays the grandfather, so that's awesome. Pretty fun.
Indeed. I'm glad you summed up all 7 seasons for me, because I'm not sure if I'll ever go back to watch Gilmore Girls. But
don't let me get started on the Netflix revival they did a few years ago, because I'll tear that to shreds.
Awesome. Since Sam, I was hoping to go on tour and interview comics, and these are the questions that I ask every comic that I've ever interviewed. And with that being said, what inspired you to perform stand-up comedy?
I kind of talked about this a little bit earlier. I think like I remember being a kid. I was like 7 or 8 years old, and I was like in the kitchen, and like I was sweeping or something. I was doing some chore, and I was kind of like you just not really doing it and using the broom as a microphone. And I have this memory of like just spitting out some weird joke about Adam and Eve, and it was something to the extent of women in food ruined everything, and it was a very dumb joke. And on like a couple therapists could probably like have questions about like why a 7-year-old has these like gender specific like notions in mind, but like I wanted to like tell jokes. I wanted to make people laugh. But again, it was like something I didn't think I could do. Like to me, the comedians that I knew were like, Red Fox, who I actually knew from Sanford and Son, and like Robin Williams, I knew from Mrs. Doubtfire and what have you. And I didn't think that. I just thought famous people at some point also started like telling jokes, Um, and it wasn't until my last year of college that I heard about a monthly open mic that was happening, like, right down in our like downtown. And I just didn't I hadn't known, like I'd listened to comedy for years, but I hadn't realized that like that was you could just sign up and just start doing comedy that way. And then once I did it, I just knew there was no turning back.
Indeed, most definitely. And what was the feeling like when you first performed stand-up?
Exhilarating and terrifying. I kind of just like decided the day of, I was like, you know what? It was okay. So I found out about the open mic, and me and my roommate went to watch it, and it was cool. And I kind of like left it being like, like a lot of the folks on it were funny. A lot of folks on it weren't. It was an open mic, but like it left me with an air of like, okay, like I have potential, like this is something I could potentially do. I might be decent at it. And it was only happening once a month, so I had like the next month to really just like write jokes. And so I just really spent it like just writing down this 5 minutes of material, just like saying to myself over and over. But I still wasn't sure if I was actually going to do it. And so then like the morning of the mic comes up, and I'm like, you know what? Screw it. I just gotta. That's how I just posted status. I was like, hey everybody, come out to the Blind Pig tonight. One night only. I'm doing stand-up comedy. Let's see if I'm good at it. Shout out to the Blind Pig in Oxford, Mississippi. For that first open mic. And then when I put that status out there, I was like, okay, well now I've got to do it. So I put it on, I lived by Facebook. I died by Facebook in college. That's just who I was. So I was like, I gotta be a man of my post. And I get there, and like a lot of my friends like showed up. It was really cool. It was really awesome to see some people like come out for it. And I was like, God, because I'd kind of been hoping that like none of my friends would show up, and I could just kind of like maybe slip out, like nobody would know I'd been there. But now I come in, and there's like 4 different tables with people from like my classes and folks from church there. I'm like, okay, well, here we go. And then I find out the rule at this open mic that new people go up top, and I was the only new person that night, which meant I got to get the show started. And I kind of got up there and just did it. I felt like I kind of just like ran through and spit out everything that I, written down on my notes app, but it got pretty good response. I'll tell you, I didn't like listen to that set or watch it. Excuse me. I'm so sorry. Or watch it again until my 5th year anniversary a couple years ago. It was like I woke up and like I saw it was on my time hop, and so I watched. I was like, okay, this is actually pretty good. And oh, hey, actually, folks, once the Lyons Den podcast is back up and running, accessible, you can find that recording at the end of one of the episodes. So
awesome. Fantastic. When did you stay for the whole mic, or did you?
I did.
Okay.
I was I especially like first getting out. I stayed till the end of every show. Yeah, so I stayed to the end of this mic, and there were like maybe 5 or 6 people after me. Again, it was a small town. There wasn't like a huge, comedy scene at the time. But it was very cool. And when I actually started talking to the people, I realized that these are folks that I had met like throughout the years, being in this college town. So it in addition to like getting me started in comedy, I got to like reconnect with old friends, and I ended up joining an improv and sketch troupe. Shout out to LaughCo, and we did some month. We kind of took the reins of the open mic, and it moved over to Proud Larry's, just another restaurant and bar downtown. Excuse me. And we started in addition to the open mic, we were doing like monthly shows there and just different improv nights and things like that. So it was a lot of fun. I really was able to like dive in head first.
Indeed, most definitely. And did the 4 tables stay for the whole show, or?
Yes, all my friends stayed for the whole show.
Awesome.
And it was a very good time.
Cool. Yeah, because like sometimes they just leave after you get off stage, and the whole room just leaves. So it happens all the time in Florida, and so they always say, "Make sure you pick this person last."
Let me be clear. Every time after that, most of my friends would just like come and dip. So I don't want to act like I know. Like when people talk about, all your friends come and leave after your set, I know I'm part of the problem. I've tried with them; they don't listen to me.
Indeed, but I'm glad they're there for it. We'll pause for the cause for sure.
Sorry,
it's all good. But yeah, Sam's getting a drink. I wanted to remind everyone to follow him on Instagram and Twitter. Donate to his Cash App if you can, and all that good stuff. And we're also raising funds for the Arch City Defenders and the St. Louis Reentry Collective, and we'll get to that later. But Sam,
don't cash out me unless you like don't trust credit cards for websites. That's fine. Like send it to me, and then I'll put it on there. But that's if you're the eventual goal is it's going to Arch City Defenders and St. Louis Reentry. So
awesome, fantastic, and so that's what I love doing. This is like we get to raise funds for everyone, and the comics and nonprofits and charities that mean a lot to us. So awesome. Alrighty, and so but yeah, all that's in the description box below too, so you can just copy and paste the links and just go do those directly and all that good stuff. And so let's see here. So as I mentioned earlier at the top of the show, I wore my Wu-Tang gear because of Wutangsammy. So
there we
go. Indeed. And so Sam, what are your favorite comedy specials and comedy record albums?
Oh God. Okay. So when I was a college admissions counselor, I used to have to like take these like week-long trips up and down the Mississippi Delta. And so one week I listened to all of Richard Pryor's albums in order. And I think everybody should do the same because he was like a literal godsend mastermind. And everything he ever spit out was pure gold. I'm dog shit with like specials names, so I'm just gonna kind of like pivot this straight into like the comics themselves. Hannibal Buress and Tommy Johnigan have Tommy Johnigan's are called, I think it's stand-up comedy 1, 2, and 3, and they're all genius.
Indeed.
Liza Schlesinger, John Mulaney,
excellent choices. And I love Richard Pryor too. Like I just watched it was live in concert, and when he spoke of his dad making love and then dying, it was just got me, and it was good stuff. So, and the photographer in the beginning, it reminded me of me because I always photograph the comics, because I help them with their flyers and stuff, but I don't run around and like be distracted. I'm like usually in my seat and taking photos from there.
Yeah.
So I'm glad no one like Richard Pryor would yell at me like that. So good stuff. And Sam, a lot of those folks have been on TV and film, and I want to know what your favorite sitcom sketches and comedy films are.
Insecure. Issa Rae final season is dropping this year. Everybody watch it. Make sure you support it. It's ridiculous how good and powerful that show has been. A lot of these are going to be shows I just now got to start watching during quarantine. Pin 15 is hilarious. Crashing, which I know from Meredith's episode that she also plugged. I know she wants to be Pete Holmes real bad. Pete Holmes is that dude. The characters on Netflix is hilarious. It's 8 30-minute sketch specials with just one comedian playing all the lead roles, and they are all genius or absolute rabbit hole mind trips. So it's a good time.
Indeed. And comedy films?
Comedy films. Man, this is weird because I don't know how well these movies hold up, but Forgetting Sarah Marshall has just been the memory of it has been making me laugh real hard. Just anything from that era with Jonah Hill. I've been on a real nostalgia kick for movies like Superbad. Just honestly, just the dumb broy comedies that I know there's better stuff out there. Harlem Nights is actually really damn funny. And Life. So I think it's important that we all go back and watch some of the old comedies that made us laugh.
Absolutely, man. When Della Reese's foot got shot in Harlem Nights, that sticks out in my mind. Since I've last seen it, it was just good times.
Mm-hmm.
And let's see here. If you can go on tour with any comedian locally and internationally known, which comedians would have to go on tour with?
Locally and internationally known. Locally, I would have to say the homie Justin Luke, just because we'd have a dope time listening to music and making dumb jokes, and it'd be a lot of fun. And then nationally known, probably Hannibal Buress. I think it'd be really cool to just spend a week or two on the road with him and just hear his random musings about life. I want to know if he's really like that, or if that's I don't mean not to question. I know Hannibal Buress is authentic, but I'm curious how is being with Hannibal Buress just sitting in a car and he might just look over and say hey man, you ever wonder why trees get so big? What's the point? I want to know if that's him 24/7.
Indeed.
I want to get to know all his secrets. Tell me everything, Hannibal. I'll be your gatekeeper.
Indeed. I love him on the Eric Andre show too. I love his reactions to things.
He came to St. Louis a couple of years ago. Just did a random 2 p.m. pop-up at the Ready Room, dope venue in St. Louis, and it was him and his DJ Tony Tone, and they kind of just spitballed back and forth for an hour and a half, and it was right after he started getting into the theremin. So he had the theremin up there. Tony's got the soundboard and everything, and there was he had a segment where he let 3 audience members come up and freestyle on stage. Just did a lot of Q&A, but it was super interactive. It was still just hilarious.
Indeed, most definitely. And if you can get roasted by 5 comedians, past and present, which comedians would they get roasted by?
Okay. Marlon Wayans. No, sorry. Yes, Marlon Wayans and Shawn Wayans. Let them tag team. Tiffany Haddish, Cat Williams, and Daniel Tosh.
Excellent choice. True story. I went and saw Method Man, Redman, Ghostface kill at the House of Blues, And there was an early show and a late show, and they saw I was decked out in Wu-Tang gear from top to bottom. And Method Man's best friend was like, "Do you want to stay for the second show?" I'm like, "I can't afford it." He goes, "No problem, we'll give you a bracelet." And so I got my VIP bracelet, go to the top of the balcony in LA, and Cat Williams shows up, and he starts throwing money off the balcony, and he was like pouring Dom Perignon, and he offered me some. And I'm like, "I don't drink, dude," so I declined a Dom Perignon from Cat Williams. So that was pretty.
Oh my God, dude.
I know, it was wild, but the cool thing after that, Riz and I hung out for 3 hours after that, and it was not bad at all to top it all off. So it was a great summer for
That's
sure.
dope. So you're just part of the clan, huh?
Well, not really. Everyone says I'm part of the clan, but like my friends do, because I have like these interesting run-ins with like half of them already. So I'm like, all
Don't
right.
don't tell them my handle's wutangsammy. I'm terrified of how they'd feel about that. Like honestly, like every day I'm just terrified like Method Man's gonna be at my door one day like, "Hey, motherfucker, take that shot your handle." I don't want to get sued. So if you talk to them and they're mad about it, just let them know I'll change it. It doesn't have to be. I don't want smoke at all.
Just tell them you got it from the Wu-Tang name generator, like Childish Gambino, and you'll be fine. So,
There we go.
Indeed. And Sam, where do you see your comedy journey in the next 5 years?
Uh, I would really like to put more out. Like I'd like to do a show, and I'd been before quarantine. I'd been working with some friends on a hilarious project. Meredith was involved in it. Just a whole gang: Jamie Croc, Corey Boothby, just a whole bunch of people here, Tommy Mosslander, and we had gotten to the point of we had shot a teaser episode, and we were working with folks to get it like edited and finalized. We were looking at some minutes festivals, and then quarantine happened, and life changed for everyone. But I'd love to be able to get that or something, finish that. That's got to happen. Yeah, just more. I'd like to get more into writing. Maybe do some like comedy type articles or stuff like that. And then I focus more on the music too. Like I put out a song on New Year's. For years, I told myself that I was gonna make a song this year. I'm gonna make a song this year. That was my resolution. I just didn't do it, and I just had so much time this past year that I was able to like really finally buckle down and let myself get into it. And so that is called "Stay on the Porch." So I guess if you want to go to SoundCloud and check that out, that would be. I guess I could have included that in the plugs. But I still don't know if I like it, and I don't know if I want people can hear it, but I don't know if I want them to hear it.
Indeed.
I'm very self-critical of my art, and I spent a lot of time assuming everybody's just being nice to me because of my beaming smile. So.
Indeed. And if you want, you can send me the link, and I'll update the description box below so everyone can check it out.
Yeah,
sure.
I will definitely do that. You're. Can I just honestly, like truly commend you?
Sure.
It's been a pleasure to be hosted by you for this podcast. This has been a lot of fun. You drive a good conversation.
Oh, thank you so much, Sam. It's like my 102nd stand-up speakeasy, so I'm like, I got into the groove, like got the 50th, and I'm like, okay, I'm getting, I'm still trying to get better, but I'm like, I just love the way it flows now. It's just like
For sure.
I'm used to this now, so it's pretty dope. And thank you so much, Sam. And there's a few more questions left, I promise.
Yes, no, absolutely, please. Everything I say sounds like a farewell speech. But I'm here to hang, dude. As long as you'll have me.
For sure, indeed. And I like to commend you as my guest because we have so much in common, and like from our conversation, and we got Yale as a mutual friend, and all that good stuff. It's just so rad to like meet fellow comics, and you're like one of my favorite guests so far. So 102 episodes in, and it's just so much fun. It went by so fast, but it's a lot of fun. And Sam, and you're an actor and a writer, and which other forms of comedy would you like to venture off into? You mentioned comedy, like writing, like stories,
like sketch, storytelling, sitcoms, movies, sketch comedy, things like that. Maybe weird animation. My partner and I have I don't want to give too much away because haters be out there. But we spent a lot of time in our basement, just fiddling around with guitar. She plays guitar and violin. I've got the garage band, and we'll just do like folk, like kind of like improv folksy ballads. So maybe we'll do like a Fly the Concords type thing, Garfunkel or something. I don't know.
Hey, that's not a bad idea. I would love to see that. And like, my favorite duo is Tenacious D, and they have like the whole shebang going, and it's fantastic. So their songs and their HBO show that they had, it's like much. It was a more rated R version of their,
For sure.
Pick of Destiny for sure, indeed. And Sam, what is your favorite joke a comic has written?
God, this is a tough one. My favorite joke a comic has written. Can you tell me yours first, and then I'll tell you mine?
Yeah, I
Or is
guess
that flip? I'm kind of flipping it on you. I don't know if that's proper etiquette, but
my favorite one, like that stands out in my head, is Lavelle Crawford, where his mom kisses him goodnight. Have you heard that one?
I think so. Yes,
Like
yeah.
after the orals, and then
Okay,
that
okay.
that one. Oh my Lanta!
All right, I've got it. I just need to get the juices flowing again. So John Mulaney has a joke. He's talking about his parent growing up. His parents are both lawyers, and he talks about this one night his dad comes into his room and he's like, "Did you brush your teeth tonight?" And John's like, "Yes, I did brush my teeth tonight." And then he says, "But the thing is, I was lying." And I'm like, "Dad, I swear to God, I brushed my teeth. Like a liar." And then there's a part where his dad like brings in his toothbrush and says, "Son, I just went to the bathroom, and this toothbrush is bone dry." And just something about the way he delivers that bone dry line, I feel like I'm transported to every time my dad ever called me out, for some bald faced lie that he knew I was telling. And I think that just not is not even the whole joke, but just like that the whole joke itself, but just that one line itself, like he so well transports like not just the experience, but like like the way his dad said it, and to be able to like flawlessly move between characters like that.
Absolutely.
It's just a bit. It's just one example of like the genius that Mulaney is.
Indeed, most definitely. I love John and like all he's done for like SNL and his own show, even if it was short lived, and his specials.
Mm-hmm.
He's just a really great writer with all that stuff and performer too. And what experience would you like your audience to take with them after a set is over?
A lot of my comedy is just like me just thinking something in my head and giggling a little bit at it, and just being like, I wonder if other people would giggle at that too. And I want people to feel more comfortable sharing the dumb, like it doesn't matter if anyone else thinks it's funny. If you we should laugh. We all need to laugh more. We all need to find and I know that it's whatever, like that's the motivational speech, and like I know it's fucking hard sometimes. Like life, it's wild out here. Like we are living in some crazy times. Um, but like I don't know, just let those dumb thoughts come out. And sometimes it doesn't have to like be about anything. It can just be about the chuckle together.
Indeed, most definitely. And
And I also want them to understand the power of Gilmore Girls. Sorry, I should have led with that.
indeed, and so we're raising funds for some great local charities and nonprofit organizations, the Arch City Defenders and the St. Louis Reentry Collective. And why did you choose those fine folks to raise funds for with this episode?
Yeah, I think that just God, I wasn't ready. Fucking no, I'm no. I wanted to think about like programs that most directly like address the issues that I think are happening like in this country like as a whole, but also in St. Louis specifically. When we think about the people who are, you know, targeted and kind of preordained for like arrest and being held for bail, and just the struggles that someone faces, like coming back into it, you know, like what, like uh, not even just thinking about like, innocent people, but just anyone who's made a mistake at all. Like the mistake shouldn't have to be like, that doesn't mean you have to start over, um and I just wanted, I just want to, do something to help them, I guess. um and I understand, I know, like, the struggles that can come with like spending any, small amount of time in the system. I've seen firsthand through family and friends like how that can absolutely wreck you. And I was, I found myself in like an instance where I had to spend an overnight, more of a drunk tank situation. But like unlike that, I was very lucky that I didn't have to like pay any kind of bill or anything. But like there were people in there who had been in for like days and were like, no, kind of like inside of when they were getting out. And that's a lot,
Indeed, most definitely. And Sam, I'm glad that we are raising funds for those folks, since there's just too much of that, and with all that, just being looking like us, it's like we're just innocent as the next guy. But,
yeah. And then Art City Defenders, specifically, I've seen like the work they've done in light of like the different protests that have happened over the years, the Jason Stockley protests in 2017, everything before and since then, and just making sure that folks who have had their right to assemble violated and infringed upon, make sure that that getting out can be as easy for them as possible.
Most definitely. Indeed. And Sam, you were nominated as my guest, and this is like the stand Speakeasy. It's like the Roaring Twenties, the Prohibition, the secret society of stand-up comics, if you will. And with that being said, Sam, which St. Louis comics would you like to see on the next or future episode of the stand Speakeasy?
Oof, well, I was gonna say Yale, not realizing that Yale had already had his swing of things. So I'm gonna say Matt Barnes.
Awesome.
And I'd also like to see Jason Nelson. So I'm gonna kind of just swing two out there, maybe for future episodes. They're both swell guys and incredibly funny.
Fantastic. And thank you, Sam. And I'll be sure to reach out to those fine folks, because I'm trying my very best to put on like the entire stand-up comedy scene on the map with this. I'll get to the famous folks later on, but for now we're just gonna be us. And I'm not famous yet, but I'm not sure if I'll ever be famous. I don't want to be famous, to be honest with you. So please follow Sam on Instagram and Twitter, wutangsammy, Cash App him, donate to the Arch City Defenders and the St. Louis Reentry Collective. That'd be rad of you. And all of his additional information about his podcast and so forth, I'll put his Indiegogo and his Soundcloud on the bottom later in post-production, before I send it to Sam. And with that being said, Sam, is there any other final words you'd like to give out to the audience at home?
Yes. Love each other, laugh together. And for all my battle hawks out there,
awesome, great stuff. And thank you so much for everyone that's going to watch right now, and that are going to tune in later. Thank you so much for everything, and we'll see you next time. And take care of each other and be safe. And we'll see you on the next episode of the Stand Up Speakeasy. Be well, everyone. Awesome.